Happy Friday. My name is Monica Sliwa, a very proud third-year student pharmacist. Today is a very big day. Guess what we have? We have the admissions committee here. Can you believe it? Dr. Atayee, Dr. Manatsagani, and Dr. Siqueira Neto. I'm super excited. You can't tell, but my heart is very racing and I'm nervous. I'm super excited and grateful to be here with you. Just like last time, let me know where you're tuning in from and leave your questions in the comment section below. I'll keep an eye out while my lovely co-host Sahar helps me welcome my amazing mentors, Dr. Atayee and Dr. Manatsagani, and of course, a special welcome to Dr. Siqueira Neto. Thank you very much for you all for joining us today.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Sahar, take it away.
All right, so we're going to start off with some recently asked questions before we get into some questions from our audience. Some of the questions that we hope you guys can answer for our students are, what is one or a few tips or recommendations that you can give for students applying or something that you want to see on their application in PharmCast?
I can get started, and then maybe Dr. Manatsagani and Dr. Siqueira Neto can just add. So one thing, I think I want to make sure that you are enthusiastic about the profession of pharmacy. And so how you can show that are different parts of the application. One is to explore the profession and share it with us on your application. Did you shadow a pharmacist? Did you talk to a pharmacist? Did you have a volunteer or a paid job within any of the different variety of things you can do as a pharmacist? And if you have an opportunity, do more than one experience. But then also in your personal statement or the essay in PharmCast, talk about how you came upon that exploration of pharmacy and why you want to be a pharmacist. And you know, you can say what kind of pharmacist you want to be in the future. We know that you may change your mind, and that's okay, but share that enthusiasm in your essay. And then finally, if you do get an interview with a school, continue that enthusiasm by sharing that at your interview.
I totally agree with that, and would add, in addition to really exploring the field of pharmacy and making sure that that's known in your application, is to really make sure that your letters of recommendation really emphasize that. Make sure that the people who are writing you letters are really capturing all of your strengths, all of your great qualities, how much you are meant to be in a school of pharmacy, particularly the school that you're applying to. The last thing you want to do is have a letter writer write you a letter and have it not be that fabulous. So you really want to make sure that you're picking the right people, and you can simply ask them, can you please write me a great letter, a strong letter of recommendation? I'm applying for pharmacy school. I think that would be one additional suggestion that I have.
Thank you very much. Another question I got was from a student who's asking, how important are grades when admissions decisions are being made?
Okay, I'll again take a first stab at that. So it's a balance. Grades are important because we want you to continue to do well while you're in pharmacy school. But grades are not the only thing. And so our minimum GPA is a 3.0, but we want to see how well you did in science classes, because you'll continue to take similar science classes and build upon that in pharmacy school. So again, as long as you meet the minimum GPA of 3.0, we want to see those other great things, your enthusiasm for the profession, extracurricular activities, leadership. So it's important as part of a big bundle, but it's not the only thing. Dr. Manatsagani, do you want to add anything to that?
No, just to really reiterate that you want to try to have, as you know, as cliche as it sounds, as a full package, or be as well-rounded as possible. We take leadership very, very important. We think very highly of our students as leaders. And so just having good, strong grades alone is often not enough. So on the flip side of having really, really great great grades, we want you to have leadership experience and have good wellness and coping mechanisms in place, and all of these things that contribute to you holistically.
Thank you, Dr. Manatsaginian and Dr. Atayee.
And if I can just add one more thing about grades, if you're concerned about your grades, I would say you could repeat courses that you didn't feel like you did well in, just to make sure you've mastered that material and you're showing us your effort. Take upper division courses if you have the choice, just so we could see that how you did in those upper division courses. So those would be two suggestions if you're worried about grades.
Thank you. That's very helpful. Another question that I got also was, how far ahead of time should a student begin working on his or her FarmCast application? That was asked by an undergrad as well.
You want to go first, Dr. M?
Sure. I was actually going to suggest that maybe Monica answer that as a student, but I would say as soon as possible. The earlier, the better. I don't think that there's any reason why you would delay. Once the application window opens, start getting started. You can start filling out the application, writing your letter of intent, start querying your letter writers. Hopefully you've already asked people for letters of recommendation. I would say the sooner the better. The last thing you want to do is be scrambling at the last minute to have all of your materials submitted on time. And particularly with transcripts, they can take a while to be submitted. So make sure that you give enough time to have those sent in. But Monica, I really would defer to you. What do you think?
Let me share a personal experience, because I, like some others, my medical advisor, who was at San Diego State, rejected writing me a letter of recommendation stating that I wasn't ready to apply for UCSD, because I said UC San Diego was my first choice. She says, I'm not going to write you a letter of recommendation because you do not have enough pharmacy experience. You're not a tech. You're not a technician. I want to speak on behalf of those who get rejections like that in terms of writing letters of recommendation, because you might face that complication, and others would say, oh, sorry, I'm not going to write you a letter. And if you're so close to the deadline, you'd be putting, a successful 4 years of UC San Diego school, the program ahead of you. Because I'm here, I'm a third year, although I was rejected a letter of recommendation. So start as early as possible, because you never know who's going to help you and who's going to reject helping you. So they can be as tough as that. But I'd love, since I have the admissions committee here, I'd want to hear from you. What do you say to students who get that response from people? They're like, you're not ready for it. Do they have to be technicians in order to apply for pharmacy school?
I would say no, you don't have to be a technician or get your tech license and not have a technician job. You don't have to do that. I think it's case by case. We do want exploration in some way. But if you get a response like you're not ready, contact us, email us, live chat. One of our great advisors is here, Sahar, and we work very closely. So we could look at your file and say, these are some things we'd recommend. And we would be honest with you if we thought you needed an additional year to take some classes or do some things differently. So if you get that opinion from somebody, contact us as soon as possible so we can give you recommendations that then you can start applying towards. As far as how early to apply, we do want to let you know we have two different admissions application deadlines. One's an early submission, which is the deadline is August 31st, or the last day of August, which is whatever a weekday is. And then it's December 1st, or the closest weekday to December 1st is the second one. Now, if you're the kind of person that's like, I really want to just go to one school, UC San Diego, I would advise you to start your application, getting ready for your application, asking about your letters of rec and transcripts in May or June, because as soon as the application cycle is open in July, you could finish your application in time by August 31st. But if you need more time to get more pharmacy experience or leadership, or just your letter writers want that extra time, then you do have that option of that second deadline and second set of interviews on December 1st. So it really depends on the timeline, right? Go on our website and look at the timeline and see what matches your what's going on with you and the people that are going to support you with this application best.
Thank you. And I guess I'm just going to emphasize it. Start as early as possible because you never know who's going to help you and who's going to not. So.
And contact our office earlier than that. You don't have to wait to contact us once you do the application. We have live chat. We have our email. So please contact us well before. Whenever you think I'm interested in pharmacy and I'm considering applying to UC San Diego, contact us. We'd like to provide you helpful information early.
And also I'd like to add, when you start your application early, you get to toggle around in the different parts of the application. So you'll have an idea of what you need to do for each part and which part might take more time. So please definitely start it early, even if you just create your login and you just go in to see what the biodem section looks like and so forth. That helps you with the process and getting it sent in on time. Because once you send it in, keep in mind, it doesn't come directly to us. It does take about 2 weeks for PharmCast to evaluate your transcripts. And if there are any delays on PharmCast's end, that does give you time to go back to your application, make any edits, and then for it to come to us by the deadline. So if you guys would like to add more to that, please feel free to do so. If not, we do have another question that came in. The question was, with so many pharmacy school choices, what do you recommend to students when deciding where to apply?
Dr. Siqueira Neto, do you want to take that one on? I think you're still on mute. Oh.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, hi everyone. Can you hear me well? Because I know there was some issues with my sound before. Okay, good. So I think I'll have to be biased this time. I think you should apply to SCAG, School of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences. But you should take a lot of things into consideration. You should look for what kind of focus the School of Pharmacy will give for your studies, where do you want to study, which state you want to practice as a pharmacist. So this all can be taken into account.
I can add a little bit to that. So other things that you might consider are class size. So some schools of pharmacy have upwards of 200 students. Some schools are smaller. We tend to be on the smaller side. And so as a faculty member, I really appreciate getting to know the students that I work with and I teach and getting to know them a little bit better. So class size is definitely one of them, especially if you like a smaller class size. I would also look at the faculty and look at, what's their background? How does that match with maybe where you want to end up one day? What are their interests and their specialties? Where are they working? Because you may get exposure to those areas as well. I think Dr. Siqueira Neto mentioned location. Of course, that's important. Hello, we're in beautiful, sunny San Diego, but that's not a huge consideration for some, but maybe for others, location is important. Of course, there's cost of tuition and all of that. We are very competitive with respect to that. What else? Maybe Dr. Atayee can add a few more pearls.
Yeah. I love all these. Thank you. I would add, you want to be successful when you graduate. Where do the graduates go at the school? How well do they do on the board exams? Depending on what pathway of pharmacy you want to take, whether it's clinical research or something unique, can the school support you to do that? And how have they shown to do that? Whether students go on to fellowship or residencies or go on and get a master's in public health in an accelerated program, which we also offer at our school. Considering what do you want to do when you graduate, not just while you're in pharmacy school. Also look at the climate of the students. Who are going to be your student peers? You get an opportunity at the interview to meet the students. Is this the climate? Do you feel like you could interact and be friends with these students and future colleagues, right? And I want to add something to what Dr. Manatsaganian said about a small class size where professors and students really get to know each other. When we write letters of recommendation for our students, when they apply for a scholarship or an award or their future job or a residency after, the letters are we're gonna really know you. It's not gonna be a generic letter. We're really gonna genuinely talk about all your strengths and attributes that you can bring to that next opportunity. So I really think, just like we value good quality letters of recommendation, I'm really proud that we can also give that to our students because we get to know them. It's not like a large class size of 200 where we barely know them and we're writing a generic letter for them.
Thank you, Dr.
I would just
Atayee.
add to that, Monica.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. That one of the best ways that you can ask about the climate at a school is to just ask one of the current students. The students, the ambassadors, are poised in that position to talk as representatives of the school, even if they're not ambassadors. Ask any of the students, what is it like? What are the faculty like? What's your school work fun balance like? What is San Diego like? So really take that time to establish connections and to ask fabulous students like Monica their opinions. They'll be honest with you. And I think that will help you along the way in determining what school you want to apply to.
I'm going to add something. I don't know if I'm allowed or not. I'm one call or text away from Dr. Manatsagini or Dr. Atayee. Whenever I have a question, I come back to them and they answer within minutes. We're that close. So I'm very appreciative. And I can't tell you how much I love this school and the faculty. They're always there for me and for the rest of my classmates. So thank you so much. And I have one more question. I know it's 5:16, and I promise this would be the last one. Sahar, please correct me if we have anything else after this one. But the question is very important, and it says, do I have a higher chance of getting in with early submission or the regular deadline? And that, I think, would be a question I would ask if I were a P1 or like wanting to apply.
You know, we don't give higher chances to one or the other. We want you to apply when you feel like you can put your best foot forward. So if you have everything ready to go and you started early in the spring before, then great. And you have all those elements that we just talked about, great. We don't have a cap for the fall one. So if we have a ton of great applicants, we're not going to hold back on giving offers. So that's the only advantage, is that if you feel like you have a good package and you can apply early, do so. But I would really say that if you don't, it's very unlikely that we're going to fill the entire class size with early submission. And we didn't this past cycle, and it was the first time we did it. I would rather have you take that extra few months and make your application better and apply at the second one. But again, it really depends on where you're at. And if you're ready to go, absolutely, we encourage you to apply early. Dr. Siqueira Neto, did you want to add anything to that?
No, I think you covered really well. The criteria for acceptance is the same. We don't change it in the early or late submission for winter. So as you said, just apply whenever you think you're ready.
We do have one additional question, and it's in regards to resources available to prospective students. And the best thing that I can say to prospective students is everyone's situation is case by case. So please contact us. We have so many resources available. We have mentorship available. Our team is really prepared and geared to helping you be successful, not only once you get into pharmacy school, but pre-pharmacy application life cycle. So whatever questions you have in regards to preparing yourself for not only the application process, but becoming a competitive applicant and then a student, please reach out to us. We have live chat, we have our email, we have our mentorship program. Just email us, inquire about it, and we're more than happy to help you out with that. Monica, is there anything else you would like to add? Dr. Atayee, Dr. Mansaganian, Dr. Siqueira, Neto, anything else you guys would like to add?
I definitely want to say a little bit in terms of, if you haven't followed us yet, please do so. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You're gonna have the chance to ask us questions, the student ambassadors, the students. So we are in charge, of course, under the supervision of Dr. Atayee and Sahar and Christine, but we can communicate with you through Facebook and Instagram and Twitter as well. So if you haven't already, please follow us there and send us your questions.
And Dr. Siqueira Neto joined us a few minutes in. I wanted to ask him, Dr. Manatsaganian and I answered, what's one thing we look for in an application? I guess Dr. Siqueira Neto has actually been on the admissions committee longer than than anybody else on here. What's one thing that really impresses you over the years when you review applications?
Well, I can say one thing I really like when I see candidates that are not only focused on their academic studies. Of course, we like strong academic students, but we really appreciate when we see well-rounded students. So student athletes, if you play an instrument, if you're a musician. So we really enjoy when we get this diverse background in our students. We really value this in a class. So I would add that to what you have already pointed out as things we look for in our candidates, being well-rounded.
And you guys can see the guitars behind Monica.
Thank you. There's also one question before I let you guys go, if that's okay. It says, what recommendations do you have for students when it comes to writing their personal statements? I know I struggled a lot, so I'd really appreciate any feedback.
Dr. Manatsaganian, do you want to start with that? Maybe we'll go in reverse order. Dr. Manatsaganian, Siqueira Neto, and then me.
So I would say make sure that you list your goals. So your short-term, your long-term goals. So for pharmacy school, if you have long-term goals beyond that, list that. Make sure that you wrap in how pharmacy, like why you want to be in pharmacy school. I mean, right? That's why this is why you're applying. That's what the letter is all about. Why do you want to go to pharmacy school? Sometimes I think it gets lost sometimes in there in the letters, and we often are searching through the entire rest of the application. What is it that they want about pharmacy? So make sure that's very explicit. The second thing I would say, seems very obvious, but a lot of times we see letters that are not proofread. So whether it's typos, small typos or grammatical errors or whatever it is, have someone who ideally doesn't know anything about pharmacy, really anyone who can just take a look at your letter to comb over it, just to make sure that it's as beautiful of a representation that you want it to be for the admissions committee. You want it to be really encompassing who you are, why you want to come to UCSD, or for any school for that matter, and to really be the best reflection of you as possible, because sometimes that may be the only glance that we have when getting to know who you are before an interview.
Yeah, I would really stress to try to put in words, why do you think pharmacy is the right profession for you? That's really the key thing we're gonna look for in your personal statement. So try to make that really compelling.
Thank you. I think they summarized most of it. I guess the only other thing I would add is it's called a personal statement. So add a personal touch of who you are in that, right? Share your own journey. So I guess what I'm saying is make it not so generic, but add a human side to you as we're reading that application before we get a chance to meet you.
I would like to add one additional thing because I get a lot of questions about personal statements. don't compare your personal statement to something that you read online. That will, it just creates too many feelings like, oh, they said this. Is that right? Should I be saying this? Do not do that. Personal statements should be genuine, like Dr. Atayee said. It should be about you and your journey and how you found that pharmacy is right for you. So that's the one thing that I would say that's the most important when it comes to your personal statement, that it's very unique to you. And there's no wrong personal statement. You know, as long as we understand why pharmacy, then there's, you know, you've answered that. We did have one additional question. It was in regards to WES. Urvashi mentioned that if you have a international degree, please send in your WES evaluation. And the deadline for WES evaluations for our application period has already ended. It was August 31st. I recommend that if you are planning to apply to our school and you do have an international bachelor, please contact us at least 6 to 8 months prior, because we need to receive it, evaluate it, give you recommendations, and make sure that you fulfill all the requirements for that process. And I don't think there's any additional questions that we have. So if anybody else would like to add anything else, please feel free to do so.
I'm just
Dr.
going to
Atayee?
say this is a crazy time with the pandemic, but it's a time that I'm so proud to be a pharmacist. And I'm so proud to see pharmacists giving vaccines, the flu shot during our flu season, and hopefully when we have a COVID vaccine, that they can participate in that and lead that for community, especially underserved community that may not have access to go to a hospital or clinic. I'm also so proud to go into the hospital and during this whole pandemic and take care of all patients, not just COVID patients, but all the other patients that need good care during this time. So it's a great time to be involved in healthcare, in research, and development in treatments. As you can see, it's a very important time. So it's an exciting time at our pharmacy school and pharmaceutical sciences right now.
As the one of the proudest student pharmacists here, I'd like to end this session. Of course, if you don't have anything else to add, I love our school, and if you have direct questions, you can always reach out to me, and I'll let you know why I love our school. Always here for you. Please make sure you follow us and wait for our next live session. It'll be interesting, just as interesting as this one. Thank you, Dr. Atayee, Dr. Minatsagin, and Dr. Siqueira Neto, of course, Sahar, for joining me. This was a very important topic for me personally, and I appreciate you all for being here. Thank you, and I hope you have a wonderful Friday.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.